We have all heard crisscross jokes all our lives. You know, the ones that go, "What do you get when you cross a bear with a skunk?" Winnie the Pooh. Back in the early 60s, producer Michael Garrison was thinking much in the same way. But his was not a joke. His seriously asked, "What do you get when you cross a cowboy with James Bond?" The answer is the Wild Wild West. In 1964, the concept of the series was developed at the time when television westerns were losing ground to the spy genre. The idea was pitched to CBS by its creator, Michael Garrison, as a James Bond on horseback. In the tradition of James Bond, there would always be beautiful women, a plethora of clever gadgets, and deranged arch-enemies with demented plots to take over the United States. The series would tell the story of two post-Civil War era Secret Service agents, James West and Artemis Gordon. James West was the fearless one, and Artemis Gordon was the master of disguise and the gifted gadgeteer. The show was set in the administration of President Ulysses Grant. They solved crimes, protected the president, and foiled the plans of villains attempting to take over all parts of the United States. The agents traveled in extravagance aboard their own train, the Wanderer. She was equipped with a stable car for their horses and a laboratory for experiments. Speaking of trains, in the series, in the pilot, producers used Sierra No. 3, and it's best known for its Hooterville Cannonball connection in Petticoat Junction. Once the series went into production, a totally different train was used named Inyo. It appears in numerous Hollywood films, most notably Meet Me in St. Louis and McClintock. The title of each episode begins with The Night, except for the first season episode, which omitted the. This followed a trend of naming episodes from established shows like Perry Mason, Rawhide, and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Despite its high ratings, the series was canceled near the end of the fourth season as a concession to Congress over television violence, and to a lesser degree because Robert Conrad was growing slightly weary of the role of James West. Robert Conrad claims to be the 17th actor to test for the leading role. If he had not accepted the offer of playing James West, his acting resume could have looked a whole lot different. He was one of the finalists for the role of astronaut Tony Nelson on I Dream of Jeannie, and has supposedly turned down the role of Hannibal on the A-Team. To speed up production and help with the production cost, he did most of his stunts on his own. However, in January of 1968, during the filming of The Night of the Fugitives, he lost his grip while swinging on a chandelier. He fell 12 feet to a concrete floor and hit his head and suffered a concussion. He spent weeks in the hospital with a lengthy recovery due to constant dizziness. Later, in an interview with the Boston Globe, he stated, "4 seasons are enough of that sort of thing." The episode was eventually finished and aired the next season. Now, he's only 5'8", and he actually wore lifts in his shoes to compensate for that. CBS had told all the casting agents to only hire women no taller than 5'6" for the show. And they also explained that they wanted the main character, Robert Conrad, to be in the foreground so that it made him look taller than the rest of the actors. Now, Ross Martin, who played Artemis Gordon, once tagged his role as a show-off showcase. The role allowed him to depict over 100 different characters during the 4-season run. He performed dozens of different dialects. He would sketch his characterizations and then work with the makeup artist to complete the final look. Most of the cast had no clue what he was going to look like until he appeared with them during the shooting of the scene. The television industry acknowledged his efforts with an Emmy nomination in 1969. In 1968, he broke his leg and also suffered a heart attack and missed 9 episodes. His character was replaced temporarily by other Secret Service agents played by 3 actors. One of them was Alan Hale of Gilligan's Island fame. Now, Agents West and Gordon encountered and faced off with dozens of devious villains throughout the entire show. Their chief nemesis was Dr. Lovelace. They dealt with him in 10 episodes. He was portrayed by the memorable 3'11" tall Michael Dunn. After reading a magazine article about Michael Dunn, a series writer found inspiration for the creation of the arch-villain Dr. Lovelace. Furthermore, creator Michael Garrison attended a nightclub act in New York performed by Dunn and his assistant, actress Phoebe Doran. After the performance, he went backstage and told the pair who he was and that he was doing a TV show and that they would be called. Dunn responded by, "Yeah, we've heard that before." But the call did happen, and the rest is television history. Phoebe Doran played Dr. Lovelace's assistant in 6 episodes. The show's writers created their share of villains, but they frequently started with the evil inventions of the madmen. Then they wrote the episode to capitalize on the devices. In only 4 short seasons and 104 episodes, the Wild Wild West featured a who's who of television character actors. People like Jim Backus, Carol O'Connor, Ruta Lee, Pernell Roberts, Martin Landau, Burgess Meredith, Leslie Nielsen, Robert Duvall, Agnes Moorehead, and the list goes on. But there were actually a few guest stars that I find really unique. The first one would be Richard Pryor. He was a stand-up comic. Sammy Davis Jr., he was a singer and musician. Don Rickles was a comic. Floyd Patterson, he was a professional boxer. And Rosie Greer was a professional football player. Though the series was very short-lived and only lasted 4 seasons, it was memorable in so many ways. What a unique show. Thank you so much for watching.